Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So for this video, I want to talk about statements that Azealia Banks made on The Breakfast Club about Cardi B. Now, in this interview, they asked her about whether or not she called Cardi B an illiterate, untalented rat. And Azealia Banks acknowledges that she made that statement. And then she also talked about Black women's culture, and she talked about how the media has the power to put anyone at the forefront. And she talked about how she was concerned about how the conversation about Black women's culture went from a discussion about, Black Lives Matter with Beyonce and Formation and Lemonade and this and that to a shift towards highlighting and focusing on a Cardi B. She called Cardi B basically a caricature of Black women, and she said that Black women would never be able to get away with spelling and grammatical errors that Cardi B has gotten away with. Apparently, Cardi B wrote some stuff on her Instagram page that wasn't spelled properly or wasn't grammatically correct and all this and that. And because of that, Azealia Banks referred to her as an illiterate, untalented rat. And, she also talked about, again, this whole thing about Black Lives Matter, how it went from a discussion about Black Lives Matter with a Beyonce to a discussion about Cardi B. And she basically called Cardi B uncouth. She basically said that the bar has been lowered when it comes to hip hop. And she basically said that this whole situation is unfair to the real institution of Black female hip hop artists. So I want to provide my commentary about this. As people know, I'm a big fan of hip hop. And I think that at the end of the day, this has nothing to do with art, really. I don't think that that's really the core of this woman's beef or issue with Cardi B. I think that it comes down to jealousy. The fact of the matter is, right now, Cardi B is a hot artist. A lot of people are focusing on her. Her music is selling. She's doing very well. She's very popular right now at this particular moment. And I frankly think that Azealia Banks is jealous of her fame, jealous of her notoriety, jealous of the fact that she's getting all this attention and praise. That's what it boils down to. It has nothing to do with a quote unquote caricature of Black women's culture. Because if you want to talk about a caricature of Black women and Black culture, all you have to do is look at who was popular right before Cardi B became popular. And you will see that Nicki Minaj was at the forefront. Would you say that Nicki Minaj promotes the Black culture? Would you say that she is some kind of role model for Black women? Would you say that Nicki Minaj had some profound messages or really represented Black women in hip hop? Would you say that? And if that is the case, what kind of message is that really conveying? I mean, this is a woman who presents really a sleazy image of Black women. Her name, Nicki Minaj, is about menage a trois, and we all know what menage a trois is. This is a woman who popularized, the idea of Black women being bisexual. I mean, a lot of her music is sexually based. It's low substance. This is not some profound rap artist that's talking about deep issues like Black Lives Matter or police brutality or anything of substance. This is the typical artist that's talking about materialism, talking about sex and all that kind of stuff. So the idea that there was some kind of high conversation or some kind of enlightenment in dominant popular hip hop before Cardi B is just false. It's just outright false. And the fact of the matter is, Beyonce is not even in the rap category. She's a different type of artist. She has a different, a whole different type of genre, and she's on a different level. And the fact that you have a Cardi B being popular, that doesn't take away from, the whole formation and this and that. And people have issues with that. I know. I mean, people have issues with Beyonce or whatever. But the fact of the matter is this, I don't think that this one artist, Cardi B, has derailed the whole conversation about real hip hop and stuff like that when it comes to black female artists. I don't think that there ever was really a real conversation, at least in recent history, because the dominant voice that you heard in terms of women in hip hop was Nicki Minaj. And Nicki Minaj is talented, no doubt. You know, she's very entertaining and this and that. But let's not pretend like there was some kind of high standard. Let's not pretend like there was some kind of powerful message in dominant, popular hip hop among women before Cardi B came on the scene. Really, Cardi B is similar to a Nicki Minaj. Really, she's like you could say she's like a knockoff to Nicki Minaj. But for some reason, she's very popular right now. And when you look at this popular hip hop culture, most of it is you know, in a big sense, most of it is a caricature of black women. You know, this over sexualized image of the black woman as the harlot, as the quote unquote sapphire, you know, as the Hottentot Venus. If you all remember the story of the African woman who was, you know, the woman who was taken from Africa and basically was exploited. And then her body was literally put on display. And I'm going to try to pull it up right now. And her name was Sarah Baartman. And I'm going to pull up this from Wikipedia. You know, where they had this black woman from South Africa put on display. She was used like a freak show. You know, they were so fascinated with the size of her butt and genitalia and stuff like that that they literally put this woman on display. They paraded her around like a circus freak show. And I'll include a link to this in the description box so that you all can read it. And also I'm going to show some images of her from on Google Images so that you could see, you know, what we're talking about. Because in many ways, a lot of these female artists, hip hop artists, they represent this. They represent the exploitation of the black female body. And these are some images here of Sarah Baartman, but you all can read the story for yourself. In many ways, Nicki Minaj and many of these other female rap artists are no different from Sarah Baartman. So I don't get what she's talking about in terms of this idea that there was some kind of high standard of black women's culture that was put out in the media before Cardi B. Again, this is not even really about that. This is really about jealousy. That's what this whole thing is about. This woman, Azealia Banks, has issues with a whole bunch of people. Instead of focusing on her art form, all she does is troll other celebrities as a come up, using their names and mentioning them to keep herself relevant. Because when it comes to her music, nobody in the hood is rocking no Azealia Banks music. I mean, her music is not popular at all in the black community. Her music is not regularly played on the radio and stuff like that. She is not that popular. And frankly, the only reason why she's really on the Breakfast Club is because of her relationship with Charlemagne, Charlemagne the Simp, man. That's the only reason why she's on the show. Because, you know, they talked about how he had been in touch with her through text messages and this and that. Because she does, I mean, she mentions a project on here, but I think that under normal circumstances, she would not be on the Breakfast Club because she's not popping like that, man. She has some songs that were good for a minute, you know, but she's not really that popular. The only reason why people even talk about her is because of things that she said about T.I. and some other people, things that she said about other artists. Like she's made statements about this white artist with a similar type of name, this white female rap artist. And she made statements about Russell Crowe and RZA and stuff like that. And because of that, her name stays relevant. And you will notice on my channel, I have a couple of videos about her. I mean, this is a woman that has psychological issues. This is a woman that's struggling with self-hate. This is a woman who has bleached her skin and in order to be lighter than she really is. And she talks about that briefly on this interview in the Breakfast Club. So I encourage you all to check it out. But clearly this is about jealousy. I mean, the jealousy can deal with the skin color issue, the colorism issues that she's struggling with, the self-hate that she's struggling with, and also the psychological issues she's struggling with. I mean, when you listen to this interview and she talks about this guy's drugging her or whatever, that story sounds absolutely ridiculous, man. I mean, when you listen to what she talks about, like these sex acts that she's engaged in with this person that was in her hotel room. I mean, this woman obviously has issues. She claims that Russell Crowe attacked her. She's talking about RZA and this and that. I mean, this woman is a troll. And I really think that instead of trolling people, she really needs to focus on promoting her own projects, developing her craft as a hip hop artist. That's what she needs to focus on instead of criticizing people, instead of trolling people. So I don't think that this is some real deep discussion. I mean, I will say this, the fact of the matter is Cardi B is a Latina, so there's some issue about her appropriating, hip hop culture and this and that. But when you look at hip hop culture, I mean, it was founded primarily by Black people and Latino people in New York. They were at the forefront. Black people and Latinos were a part of hip hop from the early stages of hip hop. So I don't necessarily see what she's doing as a caricature of Black women any more so than a Nicki Minaj or any other of these popular hip hop artists, female hip hop artists. So that's one point that I have to make. I mean, it's just unfortunate that artists like Jean Grey, people who are real lyricists don't receive the same kind of attention that, a Nicki Minaj or Cardi B will receive. It's a shame that these type of artists, real lyricists, don't receive the same kind of play on the radio and stuff like that, don't receive the same kind of attention. And it's a shame that we don't have too many artists like a Lauryn Hill nowadays, putting out real content, real lyrics with real skills. I mean, a Lauryn Hill is very talented. I mean, she's able to sing, able to act, able to rap with deep lyrics, descriptive lyrics, lyrics that paint a picture for people. Nowadays, you have these artists that are artificial. I mean, these people like a Nicki Minaj and a Cardi B. I mean, most of the time, they have other people writing their stuff. And this is true for a lot of male artists as well, like a Drake or Kanye West or whatever. They have people writing their stuff. So it's hard for me to really view them as like at the top of their game. And I wouldn't be surprised if Cardi B doesn't have writers. Wouldn't be surprised at all. And in terms of this whole thing about somebody being illiterate, on Instagram, I mean, I think that that's really silly. I mean, rap artists are entertainers, man. I mean, it's not about spell checking people's posts on Instagram. I mean, that is so irrelevant to the point of whether or not they're talented in terms of drawing a crowd, in terms of entertaining the crowd, in terms of their stage presence and their ability to rap and all that kind of stuff. Really, I just think that that's a low blow to go after somebody for like their spell checking on Instagram. And really, I think that Cardi B should put, it's just a shame that she felt so intimidated by, this troll, Azealia Banks, that she felt like she had to take down her Instagram. I just think that that's odd to allow a troll to, some irrelevant troll to intimidate you to the point where you're going to pull down your Instagram. I hope she puts her Instagram back up, because it's silly to be intimidated by Azealia Banks. But anyway, those are my thoughts about this situation. Tell me what you think. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.